There's no get out of jail free card. If you're getting money in one way or the other, it's showing up on your tax return. So be mindful of these things. What if you don't need this tax-free interest? You're just trying to grow your assets. Pick something else. Welcome to How to Retire on Time, a show that answers your retirement questions. We're here to move past that oversimplified advice you've heard hundreds of times. Instead, we want to dive into the nitty-gritty because, well, frankly, there's no such thing as a perfect investment product or strategy. There are certain things you just need to know, so we want to dive into that. As always, text your questions to 913-363-1234 so we can feature them on the show. And remember, this is not financial advice. This is just a show, so do your research. David, what do we got today?
Hey, Mike, how much does tax planning really play a role in a retirement plan?
More than you realize. That's my quick answer.
Well, because I was just thinking about this, like right now as a working person, I do very little tax planning. And I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
But maybe others do more. But so how is that going to change?
Well,
as
I don't want to
transition?
share your specific financials,
Sure.
but let's talk about that generally speaking
Yeah,
just
in
for a
general.
second, okay? So you make an income.
I do.
Yeah, that's why you're here.
Yeah, I like it. I like my income.
So your income is rather structured to where any tax planning you're really doing is how much do you want to contribute to a 401k or not? Is there a company match? Is there not a company match? Does it make sense to put funds there or not? And then if not in a 401k, or maybe you max out your 401k and you've got extra money, maybe you put it into something else, another investment.
Okay.
That's kind of the simplest version of it, but it actually gets more complicated. And you know these things, so thank you for setting me up on the question.
Yeah. Right.
But what do you invest in? So let's say you invested in Verizon. So you've paid income taxes. It's now in your savings account. You're like, I got a little extra savings here. I don't want this much in emergency cash. Let's put it in the market. And you bought Verizon stock. Okay, Verizon's a great dividend stock, but what's it doing? Every time it pays a dividend, you're paying income tax on it. Whereas if you're just trying to grow your money, you might think, well, it's a brokerage account. I really don't want, maybe you buy Berkshire Hathaway. They don't pay a dividend. So you're now focused on growth without creating a tax inefficient issue. See, if you buy a bunch of Verizon stock, and I'm not dogging Verizon, I'm just using it as an example. Everyone knows who Verizon is. Then if you reinvest that dividend every single year, your Verizon position gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay.
And you're paying income tax on every time it's reinvested. How is that efficient?
And that's a capital gain, right? Is that what we're saying?
No, it's, thank you for clarifying. It's ordinary income.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is important. So what if you did Berkshire Hathaway, or maybe you did put it in the S&P 500, which historically has a lower overall dividend. Maybe you were more deliberate about your research and you found an ETF that's specifically, like PKW, for example, that specifically buys large companies that have a historical pattern of buying back their shares as opposed to paying out a dividend. Now you've got something that can grow, but is not paying your dividend because you don't need it. You've got an income. So tax planning, even when you're 20 years old and starting to work, or 24, whatever you end up college or technical school, whatever, when you start investing, tax planning starts because you're either creating tax issues or you're not creating tax issues.
I see.
And then there's other things too, like if you are going to have tax issues, how do you get out of it? You could just pay the taxes. Could you separate certain things? Like, here's a quick example. Let's go to retirement. So let's say you're 60 years old and you want to retire. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. What are you going to do? Well, take a little bit from my IRA. I've got these stocks. I need to kind of slowly lower the positions. Too much concentration there. So I'll take a little bit over there and, a little bit from everywhere. That's so inefficient. And the reason is when you take income from your IRA, that's ordinary income.
All right.
Ordinary income, adjusted gross income, that's taxed first. So all of your long-term stock positions that you're selling, that starts at the end of your ordinary income. So if you have $100,000 in ordinary income from your IRA, let's say, and then you start selling out some shares, you're paying 15% in taxes because that starts above the efficiency of capital or long-term capital gains. Or what if you just pushed out your IRA distributions from 60, maybe you didn't touch it until 63 or 64 years old, and the first couple of years, you only took income from your brokerage account because you just had extra money there. It was growing tax efficiently. It was great. But you're on Affordable Care Act insurance, so healthcare. You want the premiums, right?
Yeah.
You've also got these positions you want to get rid of, right? So that you maybe sell some of those as well. So you can enjoy, if you're married filing jointly, I think it's like around 96,000 if I remember right, as of today's recording. So the first 96,000 of gains,
Okay.
right? Not the basis, not what you put into the market,
Okay.
but the profits, 96,000, not taxed
Because?
because of long-term capital gains.
All right.
So when you understand that you can separate and diversify based on tax strategy, you've got seasons of where you're going to take income from here, then income over there, and you were deliberate about what you were investing in to then get to that point, you're saving yourself thousands of dollars. Thousands.
So
if
this
not
should-
tens of thousands. For some people over the lifetime, it's hundreds. I mean, we're talking sometimes there's a lot of money, potentially even $1 million. I mean, it depends how much money you have. It's all perspective. A lot of savings, not based on the investments, the tax planning and the investments. They go hand in hand. You cannot separate one without the other.
So you should really start early then, thinking about your future self, taking income and how to take income efficiently. So you should, I don't know, what age should you start like thinking about
16.
this? 60. Yeah.
No one's going to do that.
Yeah, right.
But 16 years old when you start. Here's why.
Oh, 16. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 1-6. So
1-6.
sweet 16, if you don't get the nice car,
Yeah.
and if your parents give you the nice car, sell it and buy whatever equivalent today of the Geo Metro, because I don't think they make Geo Metros anymore.
No, but what a great car. Oh, the Geo Metro.
I loved it. Yeah, I drove a Chevy Oveo for a long time,
Oh, okay.
and it was ugly yellow. Then I had a Mazda that like lasted 2 years, but I bought it for very like no money. Then there was a Taurus I had.
Wow.
Just garbage cars. They all lasted 2 years, but it was cheap and it got me where I needed to go.
Yeah.
You know, no one expects you to be successful at the age of 16. So why are you trying to drive a nice car?
Yeah. Agreed. Don't need to keep up appearances. Just have it get you to where you need to go.
Yeah, and as long as it plays music, that's good enough. If it
Yes.
plays music and it drives. But the point being is if you're 16 years old and you max out, so you have to have income, you have to generate income, but then you max out your Roth 16, 17, 18 years old, there's a good chance that half of your retirement is now paid for.
Wow. That's a sobering, like, whoa.
Half.
eye-opening. Half.
Now, there's a lot of variability there with market patterns and growth and what's going to happen there. But
Yeah.
based on 30-year historical averages and expectations, you put it all in equities. And this is not financial advice. Remember, this is just a
Sure.
show. This is an example.
Yeah.
Put it all in equities. Maybe you blend it with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. Okay?
Okay.
That's it. And it's in the Roth and it grows.
Yeah.
There's a good chance maybe around half of your retirement is now paid for. And you didn't even start college. So when I say, start early, as soon as you can. I mean, stop going to get the fancy coffee in the morning and just drink the crap that's at the office. Maybe you got a fancy machine. I don't know. But
Right.
these little differences alleviate significant financial stresses along the way. I can't tell you how many 40-year-olds are barely making ends meet and have no idea at this point. I was on the phone with one yesterday. He says, we're having a hard time saving. In fact, they're struggling. They're having to sell the little they have saved just to take care of some kids' things that were unexpected.
Yeah.
And he's like, how am I supposed to catch up with this? It's a lot easier if you give up a couple of fancy meals. You don't need $80 appetizers at the age of 18 years old.
No.
But that 80, I don't know, let's say 9% compounding interest from the age of 18 to 60 years old. And if you just skip that $80 appetizer and you put it in the market, that $80 appetizer is now around $3,000. So now at that point later on, that might seem insignificant,
That could be like a month of your retirement life.
but that's now
a
buying
vacation.
37 appetizers when you're retired at $80.
Yeah.
The point is, that's just one little bit. Wasn't a big sacrifice.
Yeah.
Now, how many times could you do that in the year?
Right.
Do it 10 times in the year. And you got 30,000.
Yeah.
Do it 100 times in the year. You got 300,000.
Oh,
I mean, these are things that matter. You got to create the system to where you're saving. Now, the question was about tax planning as well. So
tax planning
let's dive into that a little bit deeper.
in
okay.
retirement.
So when it comes to tax planning, Okay. You've got to keep in mind your 1040. Okay. What do I mean by that? The 1040 is the scorecard. Let me give you an idea. And I can tell you right now, I would be willing to bet most financial advisors don't have a clue what I'm about to say or even look at this on an annual basis. Okay. So on lines 2 and 3, let me break that down for you real quick. Line 2A, that's your tax-free interest. That's where it's going to be recorded there. It doesn't affect your adjusted gross income, but it affects your modified adjusted gross income. So think of your bond, your municipal bonds, okay? That's going to affect your Social Security planning. That's going to affect if you qualify for Trump's new senior standard deduction planning and so on. So did you really do yourself a favor for all these municipal bonds to quote-unquote not pay income tax when it could be affecting other parts of your plan? Also keep in mind that your municipal bond interest, you need to account for the comparable difference of taking the municipal bond interest versus some other fixed income, that's what they call bonds, fixed income offer and pay taxes, because the fixed income that's not a municipal bond might pay you more than the municipal bond. The municipal bond's giving you less because they know it's tax-free.
Oh, I see.
So you have to do an after-tax calculation. And do you need or want the Social Security tax efficiency or not? Do you want the extra $6,000 per person deduction that's going to be from 2025 to 2030 or not? You've got to keep in mind that there's no get out of jail free card. If you're getting money in one way or the other, it's showing up on your tax return, typically speaking. So 2A, tax exempt interest, be aware of that and how it affects other parts of your plan. Also, modified adjusted gross income, that tax free interest, that's going to affect your Medicare. So IRMA and surcharges there. So be mindful of these things. What if you don't need this tax-free interest? You're just trying to grow your assets. Pick something else that doesn't pay a dividend or an interest rate. It's just growing. You could create unintentional inefficiencies because you didn't pay attention to the tax-free bit because it's not on your adjusted gross income, but it shows up elsewhere. You got to pay attention to these things. Look at 2B. Okay? 2B is the taxable interest. So this is kind of a surprise for some people as it bumps up their bits, but you got your high yield savings or other things that are paying you interest. Be aware of that. Okay. You've got then 3A. 3A, these are qualified dividends. These don't show up as much based on my experience, but you've got your qualified dividend, which is paid as a long-term capital gains rate, but it's like for foreign companies or corporate payouts, things like that have very specific they qualify very specifically. Like it's not as easy. Then you've got 2 or 3B, which is your ordinary income. This is where people get hurt because they've got so much ordinary income coming from because they're dividend investors and they're in their brokerage accounts and they keep reinvesting it. So then the issue gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is when they typically come to me and say, how do we fix this? I say, the only way to get out of it is to either do nothing and keep paying the taxes or do nothing and spend this money or sell with long-term capital gains rates to coordinate that, usually over a couple of years, to then move money into something that's not paying as much dividends so the problem doesn't get bigger and bigger and bigger. Anyone that actively avoids paying taxes oftentimes pays more in taxes. They create tax efficiencies they have to deal with later on because they're not being proactive. And the specific scorecard for brokerage accounts I have found is to be on lines 2 and 3, so 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. And then also keep in mind line 7. Line 7 is where you're keeping the scorecard of your capital gains. Are you or your advisor actively trading in your portfolio to try and outbeat the market? Let's put that into context, okay? For easy math, let's say that the market's averaging 10% because 10 is an easy number, okay? And let's say your effective tax rate is 20%, okay? So if the market's doing 10% and you're actively trading and you got 10% performance, you have to account for taxes. That's 20% you're paying in taxes. So really you didn't get 10%, you got 8% because you had to pay taxes. It's a headwind against your performance.
Okay.
And for what? I love active trading, but I think it should be done more appropriately in a qualified account like an IRA or Roth, not a brokerage account.
Yeah.
Because
is the brokerage
of this
account
issue.
for like just sort of buy and hold or just
in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you could get fancy and do holding companies and C corps and things like that. There's double taxation, which is an argument. But if you're looking for long-term growth, you're going to get taxed at a different rate than income tax. But most people don't do that kind of thing. But then, so you have to then think, okay, well, I need to get 12% just to match the 10% growth net of taxes. So now that's really hard to do, but it doesn't stop there. You have to then rationalize the fees. So let's say you're paying 1%. So you've got to do 13% average annual returns to match roughly net of tax performance, the 10%, and just ignore how it affects all the other parts of your plan.
So how do we put a bow on this whole, we started off with how does tax planning really play a role in my retirement plan? We've talked a lot about lines 2 and 3 and 2A and 3A.
When I got started in the industry, I was taught to tell people, if you're paying taxes, you should be thanking me because I'm making you money.
Oh, right.
And how ignorant is that?
Yes. It fails to consider all the scorecard, as you call it, the 1040.
So another way of looking at it is I don't think you can give proper investment advice unless you also can give tax advice. So if you ask someone, can you give me tax advice? No. That's a red flag. Because the way you build a portfolio must acknowledge how it's going to affect your tax return and the performance and the other parts, your Social Security taxes, your modified adjusted gross income, and how that affects the standard deductions that you may or may not qualify, how that affects your IRMA if you're 65 years older. It all plays a role. And so many people miss it because they put blinders on and say, okay, what was my performance? They look at a percent and they forget how it affects the taxes. Or they might realize it, but they don't fully connect the dots. It's not about how many times your advisor trades. If you hire an advisor, the purpose is to help guide you through the complexities of your ability to create and sustain your wealth, the growth of your assets, that they're used for your lifestyle and legacy goals. Don't get upset if an advisor doesn't trade frequently. Ask, are they keeping my best interests at heart? Are they a fiduciary that can also do taxes? By the way, fiduciary doesn't mean they can give you tax advice. Fiduciary means that they have a securities license and they're supposed to put your interests ahead of their own.
And it seems like everybody should follow that, what you just described.
Well, the insurance companies have their own word. It's called best interest. So that's their version of a fiduciary. They couldn't use the same word though for, I don't know, probably legal reasons. But they're also supposed to put your interest ahead of their own in their own way of wording it. So it is confusing, but unless you have someone that can do both, tax and investment advice, you may be creating unnecessary resistance towards your growth and your goals. And for everyone listening right now, if the light bulb's going on, you're thinking, gosh, that might be me. If you want to go home tonight and look at your 1040, look at lines 2, 3, and 7, and just ask yourself, is this an issue? Are they showing up there? Has your advisor ever told you about these things? Have you ever had the conversation about these things? Have you ever done analysis? If you just bought and hold other stocks, would you, historically speaking, have gotten reasonable, similar performances, but not had all the other unintended consequences? If this is a new conversation to you, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick up your phone right now and dial 913-363-1234. You'll get a friendly voice on the phone that's going to gather some basic information. Ask for the awareness analysis. A lot of options when you call in, but the one specifically, ask for the awareness analysis. This is a 2-meeting analysis, very easy on your part, but it will raise your awareness to the problems or potential problems that are not being addressed. The analysis normally costs $500, but if you call right now, you're going to get it half off, just $250, and here's what you're going to get from it. We'll do the 30-minute call one-on-one to understand your lifestyle and legacy goals. We're going to ask for just some basic information, some statements, just upload it. It's very easy on your part. We handle it all on our end. We're going to go through in great detail everything and then point out risks. We're going to help you find problems in our first 60-minute visit so that we can come back and say, great, based on the results of your analysis, do this, 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 and this, and then you take that home. This isn't some sort of sales pitch on how to become a client. It's an analysis where there's a very clear start and a very clear end with something you take home and you can implement on your own. Okay? It's just $250. You're getting it half off if you call right now, 913-363-1234. And here's the best part too. If you go through the analysis and you feel like it wasn't worth your time, just say the word, full refund. You get your money back, no questions asked, no contingencies, no. You keep the results. If you just say the word, we'll give you your money back. Instant refund. Done. Okay. Call right now, 913-363-1234. Request the awareness analysis. And just for what it's worth, it's $250. That's it. What if you could unlock thousands of dollars every year in paying less in taxes? Would that be worth it to you? What if you could learn how to save a little bit differently so that you could retire sooner, years sooner? Would that be worth it to you? What if you're able to adjust a few things on how you're taking income in retirement so that there is multiple 6 figures more projected assets to pass to your kids? Would that be worth it to you? I mean, when you think about it, $250 is like nothing for what could be potentially unlocked.